Today, I really want to talk about the war on privacy, anonymity, the surveillance capitalist system, the addiction for profit system, the human farming operation that is modern day tech companies, and also like the legislation that's coming along with that. So if you are on the internet, I'm sure you've seen, mostly coming out of the UK initially about a week or two ago, was new censorship laws that are really, really, really bad, but that then immediately exploded into a worldwide, I mean, like across the entire Western world, voluntary submissions by tech companies to not necessarily censor, though they do frame it as such. The ID verification laws, the age verification laws, all of this is profitable to them. There's a reason why just when one country, the UK, put forward this law, Twitch and YouTube in the United States was putting out notices saying that they will also be implementing that in the United States when there's no law requiring them to. Now, I don't know about any of you, but generally corporations exist to make money. And so a corporation choosing to do, something that's very unpopular with all of the people that use their products is generally only the kind of thing that happens when it's profitable. And at this point, like, I remember growing up hearing, if you use something for free, then you are the product, about social media, about, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. And to a degree that was true, but it's not anymore. We're not the product anymore. The product is our data. We are being farmed for it. We are cattle. We are being kept in our little bubbles, in our homes, in front of our little, iPads or brainwashing machines. And we spend all of our time, essentially like a cow in a feedlot does, just gorging on ourselves and fattening ourselves up to be harvested. We are being farmed as if we are not human. They addict us to these things so that can be the way that they go about it. And then they come around and they frame ID verification laws and the ability to take away your privacy as a safety thing. It's we have to fight the addiction. We have to fight the system that they're implementing that's bad for young kids. They always frame it as protecting children. Not that any of these people have ever really cared about protecting children, but it starts off with quite, hold on, just learning the media switching here. It starts off pretty innocuous. Once I get my screen share going. Go. Are we up on? There we go. So this is from The Guardian, age verification laws coming to search engines in Australia with huge privacy implications and inclusion. So this is an article from The Guardian just from the end of July. Now, this says Australia, but it's never just Australia. It's never going to be just the UK, the United States. Again, even though there aren't currently laws on the books for it, companies are still implementing these things. This is a concerted effort by the capital class to push 1984 style Orwellian cyberpunk legislation all at once, all across the globe, so that we're too flooded with all of the other horrible things going on every day to really pay attention to it, but also the quicker they get this done, the less of a chance there is for massive backlash. Like, for example, just a couple of weeks ago, we had the itch.io debacle, where a Australian, lobbying group for evangelical Christians saying that they wanted to ban porn resulted in video games being taken off of Steam, not because they were pornographic, but just because they were considered not safe for work. And I've talked about this before, in that the declaration of what is considered not safe for work, it varies from country to country. It varies from context to context. And in that ban, there were inclusions of video games that were considered not safe for work, literally just because a queer person was involved in making it. So this coming out of Australia for search engines is going to spread to the rest of the world. Now, this is in relation to a bill that Australia passed, in which I actually do support to an extent, which is the restriction of social media to people under 16. You're not allowed to go on social media. It is literally illegal. There are parts of this legislation that I've spoken about that I like. I like the idea of making the onus on the tech companies, not the parents or the children, as in, like, if you are, on this site and it's illegal, you're not going to get in trouble because your kid is on the site, or you're not going to get in trouble because you're on the site. It's the tech company. If a 14-year-old gets onto Facebook and Facebook pays a $50 million fine, that part I like. Fantastic. No issues at all. There is a massive, massive, massive missing piece to all of this legislation everywhere, though. Every single country that is enacting tech censorship legislation, even some that I support, is only doing so under the guise of restricting access. Now, I don't know about you, but restricting access doesn't really accomplish much if you don't continue forward from that. If you take something from, let's say, a child, they have a toy in their hand. If you grab that toy, that child will start crying and screaming. If you give them another toy while you take that toy, well, they're much more likely to give it to you. Now, the justifications here for a lot of these is, let's get young people off social media. We need to treat, the pornography and the misinformation and the deep fakes as a very serious issue. And mind you, like, these are serious issues. They're like, some of these are national security threats. And we'll get to that. But nothing about longevity is included in here. For example, if you banned everyone under 16 from social media, right? And you did it correctly, there's no ID laws and all of that, like, everything is fine. What happens when this 16-year-old is now allowed on social media? Well, they are now 16, they're in school, we have AI everywhere that's taken literally everyone's jobs. This kid needs something, to focus on, to do. And so they need a hobby. What hobby do they find? What hobby do we incentivize young people to go to? Content creation. As of, this time period, I'm 30 years old. I don't exactly know when the content creator generation starts, but from now onward, is there any incentive for someone 16 to not become a social media content creator? No. And if the goal is to get people to socialize more offline, to get young people off social media, still 16, 16 might be the age limit for you're allowed on, but that's still a young person that might be affected by this addiction for profit industry. And it is exactly an addiction for profit industry. There is MRI scans, there is evidence to every possible degree that your phone, your iPad, your computer is built to addict you. Scrolling through TikTok in your brain functions the same as doing cocaine. Actually, there are MRI studies that can show you this. Your brain has the same responses, and it builds the same pathways. And that pathway then gets reinforced over and over and over again. And we don't treat this to be fair, we don't even treat addiction like a healthcare problem. We treat addiction like a crime problem. But we don't even treat this like addiction. This is so normalized that people get told that they're privileged for saying that they're not on social media. Now, saying I will never use the internet, that is kind of privileged to say, because you need the internet to do a lot of things, a job, etc. But you don't need social media. But we've normalized it to a degree that it's, hold on. Sorry, let me see if I can fix the volume really quickly. We've normalized it to a degree where it doesn't matter. People just, it's touching the mic. I mean, I moved it further away. Hopefully that helps. I just touched it again, but I do appreciate that. New filters and all of that. Now, if you want young people to remain off of social media, you know what? There's like 2, 3 really easy and not very expensive things that you can implement that would honestly, in the long term, make the government money. First off, you create public spaces, like literally public common areas. Places where there's a couch, there is a pool table, I guess, or something to do, a garden. Places where people in the community, not youth centers, mind you, like the community, can go and hang out there. And there is things to do. It's free. It's comfortable. There are, there are activities that you can do. You incentivize people to spend more time outside. I say this all of the time, but online community is great, but it is only ever going to produce a facsimile of the effects of real in-person social interaction, which we are incentivized to not do. It is part of the reason why, like, we have devolved into the state that we are in now. We don't socialize. We have no investment in other people. We all know that people don't act the same offline than they do online a lot of the time, for example, right? I personally think that we are already living in a world kind of like Ready Player One, where there's the, your normal in real life body in your life, but then you get home and then you might not even have the VR goggles. You have your phone, doesn't matter. You are now online. You are a different person. That is a character now. There are no third places left. There is nothing but online. That is reality for a lot of people. And that's, putting aside the fact that it is a manufactured addiction, a manufactured farming operation, it is a public health crisis. Loneliness, depression, mental health issues like, suicidality, self-harm, eating disorders, all of these rise massively with social media. Then you get to like psychosis and all of that. So like there is real reasons to restrict some of the existing places on the internet, existing channels. Personally, I think right-wing media should be illegal. Now, like, am I going to be able to do that? No. Can I, take power and say, hey, everyone that works at Fox News, you're going to jail if you've ever lied on TV? I think it should be illegal to knowingly, willingly, and provably, intentionally lie to the public as a politician or a media official. Now, how do you prove that? Well, in a court of law, right? But we don't even exist in that kind of a world anymore. There is no proving it in a court of law. For example, everything that you could possibly do and say is being recorded and is being sold. It's all for sale. So all of these, ID checks, right? Google's gonna make you give them your ID so that you could do a Google search, or, Instagram or TikTok or Twitch or YouTube. You know what happens to these IDs, right? You know where they go? They go to a third party. A third party who is legally allowed to sell your information. My God, hold on, I gotta do the share screen thing again. I have to do that every time. Fair enough. Here's one, Yoti. Yoti is a third-party contractor for surveillance. They do identity verification, facial age estimation, e-signatures, AI services, digital ID wallets. They work with governments and businesses, Instagram, so Meta, Epic, that's, what is it, Tencent? OnlyFans, I don't know what these two are. So now all of these social media sites and everyone else that these people are contracted with have the risk of all of their data leaking, because they're not exactly known for, high security. We have data leaks happening like regularly. And mind you, that's going to get worse because AI, the fact that you could currently make AI give you like world-ending viruses and instructions on how to make them just by spending a little bit of extra time talking to it, it's terrifying. There are dark web AIs, like people have downloaded ChatGPT and then made it, different and run it locally, and it can help them with hacking or terrorism. In fact, one of the most important things that I will never forget is a few years ago, I was listening to some researcher on AI, and she said specifically the most important thing that we need to do, and this was like 5 years ago, was make sure that AI does not end up in the hands of death cults. In the hands of death cults. That's literally everyone that has access to this technology now. It's only death cults. Here's another one. Here's another third party that has access to all of your information and can sell it freely for fun, just because they want to. This is Persona. Now, Persona, if you have a look through their privacy policy, and we will in a second, but like really quick, let's just let's have a look to see who they actually work with. Sorry, there should be in their about section. The press. So let's say you want to read the news. Well, sorry, the fact that you are reading that news is now being logged by a third party who's then selling that information. It is very, very bad. It is especially for someone on the left, but anyone who cares about reality, journalism, truth, like this is terrifying. That media companies, literally, like, here's some of their investors, venture capital. Of course it is. It's always fucking venture capital. All of that is being sold, is being collected, being fed to AI, and you get no choice in it. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, where's their privacy policy? Bring that back. Fine. Hold on, I'll grab the actual bloody link. But if you have a look at this, and this one's not going to be particularly different than any of the other ones. Right here, if you go down, here's some of the information that they're collecting. So your name and your contact information, your email address, your phone number, which can link you to literally anything and everywhere. Demographic data, your birthday, your age, files you upload like tax forms, utility bills, government documents, driver's license, social security, audio, video, photos of you. Also current and previous name and contact information. So all of it. Biometric data, geolocation data, all of your account information. And if you jump down just a little bit more, Persona will permanently destroy data from scans of facial geometry extracted from photos of your face that you upload upon completion of verification or within 3 years of your last interaction with Persona. So, if you have to verify your ID with Persona to, let's say, use Google search, they keep your ID and your biometrics and all of that for 5 years. Sorry, for 3 years, not 5. I don't know where I got 5 from. For 3 years. And they can sell it and do whatever they want with it in that time frame. And every time you have to re-verify, that time resets. So, you know, you moved house, you're at a different location, new IP, you gotta verify your identity. Oops, sorry, 3 more years that they have your data that they can sell. Mind you, like, they're also spying on you because a lot of that data is including malware, includes, just generally really, really scummy methods of intelligence gathering. Now, we know a lot of this isn't new, too. Like, Snowden was talking about this stuff a long time ago. But imagine how much worse it is now if it was that bad when it was Snowden.